I don't think that the far left is worse than the far right. The Christo-fascists and the Christo-nationalists are at least as bad.
Yeah, I would say that's
As the
probably
far
just
left.
as bad. Yeah.
I guess what I would say, to be more specific, is I think that the mainstream wing of the Democrat Party is more beholden to its extremists than the Republican Party.
Yeah,
Depending on...
I think that's true to an extent, but the problem is that I think that the status quo of the Republican Party is a lot closer to their extremists than the Democrat Party. I think that there's a pretty big gap between like Biden and like socialists and communists, and then in a very small gap between Donald Trump and Nick Fuentes.
That's who Benjamin Netanyahu's in coalition government with. He has maps of Greater Israel. His party and the people he's in coalition government with talk about Greater Israel, which is conquest, taking lands that isn't there, which includes West Bank, Palestine, and parts of
I agree
Lebanon.
he's a bad guy. I don't like Netanyahu, but I don't know that I agree that he's like doing ethnic cleansing or that he's trying to like
okay, well, whatever he's doing to Palestine is
war
worse
crimes.
Is what Putin's... Whatever he's doing to Palestine is worse than whatever Putin did to Ukraine.
Hey, yo.
Hello?
Hello?
What? Hold on. What is going on? Oh.
There you are.
Can you hear me? Can you see me?
There's that beautiful face.
You sound like my mother. What's cracking?
Nothing, man. How you doing? It's been a while.
It has. It has, and
You've been killing it lately. I've watched a couple of your things. You've been doing really well.
with the league stuff. Yes, that's every now and then you find a little gold mine, and that one definitely I can mine for gold. I was gonna say the last time we talked, weren't we? Oh, I guess we were watching the debate. I was gonna say before that we were talking about Kanye. And not gonna lie, Kanye sound a little vindicated nowadays.
Wait, you feel vindicated?
No, Kanye sound a little vindicated.
What does that mean?
I'm joking about.
Okay, I was about to say.
It's a joke about. It's a joke about Israel not being too popular nowadays.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So.
True.
But
That's true. Yeah. So the first time, the first time him and I had any interaction was, and I think we had like commented on each other's videos a couple of times, or like, but never really spoken before. And then you did a video about Ben Shapiro talking about Kanye West and how you didn't like how he was just kind of like treating him like a crazy person. And so then I did a response video like, this is kind of fucked up. What is wrong with this guy? And then we had a conversation afterwards. And I totally like misunderstood everything that he said. And, but yeah, we ended up... I
wouldn't characterize it like that. And I don't think your video was what the fuck is wrong with this guy. I mean, I think you laid out some pretty fair criticism, and I said, yeah, this is fair, let's talk about it. And yeah, I thought that was a productive discussion. And there were definitely some... You had made a point about... I shouldn't assume that my audience like knows the full context of a discussion. Because I did cut parts out.
Yeah.
From my perspective,
I thought you were cutting it out of context.
Yeah, and from my perspective, I was not intending to do that to eliminate the important parts. But then in hindsight, I was like, okay, I could see how that could be perceived that way. And since then, I believe I said to you specifically, I said, anytime I do cuts like that, I'm going to do a dip to white in Adobe Premiere, which it'll just do a white flash. And I have since done that. So
nice.
That was a very useful conversation as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, there's times where I go to edit something and I think, damn, I'm gonna use a black fade, but I do think I told PF Jung to do a white fade, but I am gonna dip to black on this one.
Yeah, that's fair. No,
but yeah, so you had the League of Legends video that did really well, but I also watched a podcast recently that you did with A white-haired guy. I don't really
With
know.
Roan?
Roan? Is that
Rowan? What is the Pokemon region called? Hoenn?
I don't know.
He
You're asking the wrong
says
person.
his name's Ben. He says I believe it's Rowan because it's named after the Pokemon region, which I believe is pronounced Hoenn, which is a ridiculous name in my opinion for a Pokemon region. But yeah, Rowan. Yeah, him and I talked. Yeah, because he lives in the Dallas area, and so do I. So we met up.
Okay. So yeah, so I watched that. Is he the guy who does? Is he one of the guys doing the like rap battle
Yes,
videos?
he is the mind behind the Destiny Ben Shapiro rap battle.
The Destiny. Well, and he did Destiny Jordan Peterson rap battle as well, right?
Yep.
I thought that's why he
Yep.
was dressed like that in your
Yes.
podcast, is
Yeah,
because he
that's
was
right. That's
dressing
right.
like
It
he
was
was
Destiny.
Jordan Peterson.
That's right. It was Destiny and Jordan Peterson. And then he's also called into Sam Cedar's show with an AI impersonator of Dave Rubin, which is hilarious. I watched it like
No
probably
way.
3 or 4 times in total. It's just he's a funny guy. It's a shame he's a
haven't seen it.
progressive because he could be an enlightened centrist, which is where all the smart, charismatic people are. But he likes
I
to.
tell you every time, enlightened centrists are the losers. It's just the regular centrists that are totally unenlightened like me that we are the ones who are going
Yes.
to lead us to prosperity.
I believe that you believe that.
Mhm. Good.
What from the podcast was there anything that stood out from that?
I thought you had good questions. Obviously, a lot of it was just like random, just like throw something out there and see what sticks kind of questions. But you guys ended up having really good conversations throughout, and it was funny too. You were dressed like a cop for some reason, and
Yeah, I don't even know what that was. I was just the Hawaiian shirt with the black tie is just
yeah, and that like a trucker
good
hat,
crazy juxtaposition. Yeah, and then, yeah, the hat that says
aviators.
yeah, it's a lion. It's a hat and it's got a lion and it says king on it. And I was in the store just getting some regular hats, and I saw that one, and I was like, oh, this is a fucking prop. So I paid for it with my business credit card because I'm like, well, this is a prop. This is a business asset. So I bought the other ones for myself, and then I bought that hat specifically so I could write it off as a business expense.
Nice. Well done.
And
Is that
use
a
it as
PF
prop.
Jung hat back there?
No, that is another. That one is just a yin yang symbol that I saw. Like, well, I have to buy that one
Okay.
too, and now I just put it back there.
I got
Is that DGG
Tomfoolery.
merch?
No.
Oh,
this
okay,
is
yeah, okay. I was gonna say that's your own merch.
Tomfoolery merch.
Nice,
Yes, sir.
elite. I think if I do ever do merch, it will be shoehorns, not shirts and mugs or anything like that. Because everyone should have a shoehorn, and I want something very functional. But we'll see.
Shoehorns. Why shoehorns?
Because it's very functional. Everyone should have one. You get the long shoehorn that you just
It's not functional. What are you
a
talking
shoehorn.
about? My dad had shoehorns. I have not seen a shoehorn.
Is your
since I
dad
was,
is your
7
dad like a
years
Fox
old.
News conservative type guy?
Yes, definitely.
Right. So your dad is a man of the world, and he knows how functional shoehorns are. He probably wears New Balances, which are very
Maybe.
functional.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, he had
I
a
don't
bunch
know.
of. He had a lot of shoehorns.
so I don't know. I haven't rolled out my merchandising.
I don't even wear shoes
Division,
with
yeah.
laces on them anymore. All of my shoes are slip-on, very tight, like the elastic, so you can just slide my foot in there. If I didn't wear those, I would wear like my Bidens that are just Velcro on the top.
I thought you had Biden series shoes like Trump's.
I was not going to get the Trumps. I had to get the Bidens
No.
that are just black sneakers with Velcro straps
That's
on
fair.
them. Very cool. Very.
That's fair.
Is really pulling in the white community with those. Do you like the
whites,
Trump
yes.
shoes?
No, I would never.
I actually like them.
Listen, the most
I
I've
like
paid for a pair of shoes besides golf shoes, I mean, I pay $80-$90 for a pair of Nike Air Force Ones. That's probably the most expensive shoe I'll buy. Maybe like a slightly more expensive pair of dress shoes or something like that. But not that I'm against, paying for decent styled clothing. I used to be very, sweatpants and solid color t-shirt, and that's, you're good to go. But but I have since learned the value, and like actually you should take time to present yourself in a way that I don't know, at least reflects some sort of self-respect.
Yeah.
Of course, if you're like a multi-billionaire just walking around in sweatpants and shit, it's like, well, nobody cares. But um, like I'm very big on dress codes now at work. I understand why people are required to wear at least a polo, like jeans and a polo. If I had to wear like slacks and a suit, or either or, that would be too much, depending on the job. But
Yeah, I was always like sweatpants or like, basketball shorts and a t-shirt sort of thing. And then I think, yeah, like as I got older, the more I realized like dressing better and presenting yourself better is like a necessary thing. So now I wear much nicer sweatpants and basketball shorts these days. So
yeah. I mean,
I've learned my lesson. I hear that
can,
guys actually learn how to dress around the age of like 28 to 30. Like there's some sort of like light bulb that goes off in our heads where all of a sudden we're like, oh yeah, we should probably start to care about how we look.
oh fuck, what was I gonna say? You said nicer sweatpants. I mean, you could pay like $1,000 for a Gucci pair of sweatpants nowadays, so
Mm-hmm.
who the fuck knows? Anyway, is there anything you want to argue about or disagree about? Because that's the thing I enjoy most, of course. Talking with
I don't
fellow
not
people of great thought and
not specifically.
influencers. Okay.
I did want to ask you. So the Supreme Court ruling just happened. Does that make sense to you that states can't just take somebody off?
You talking about the Colorado one?
Yes. Does that make sense that they can't just take somebody off the ballot if they believe that they've participated in an insurrection?
Not only does it make sense, if that was not the ruling of the court, then I would say it's pretty clear that we live in a sham democracy, and I could care less what anyone says about, well, we need to abide by democratic norms. It's like, no, you've thrown all that out. So yes, this was first off, no one.
Wait, your audio just cut out. You don't know your own strength. You grab that way too hard.
That's what she said.
There it is. Okay.
It's this cord that every time I adjust it, it fucks up. What I was saying is, wasn't the court ruling 9-0?
Mm-hmm.
It was a sweep.
Yeah.
So nobody wasn't expecting this, and that would be the dumbest fucking thing in the world if a state could just decide.
Well, the only problem
I'm pretty sure
is that part.
Oh wait, hold on.
decision.
I can't hear you. One sec. My audio switched. You're fine on your end. I think it's mine.
Mm-hmm. This is an enlightened centrist thing.
Now we're good.
Okay. You got me?
Yes, I got you.
Okay. So yeah, the only thing that I like from listening, like the only thing that seems to be pretty controversial is the fact that Congress has to decide that they engaged in an insurrection in order for other states to then take them off the ballot and say that they've engaged in an insurrection. But
was that part of the ruling? They said Congress
yes.
is the one to determine that?
Yeah, and that seems a little weird that like if I don't think there's not like a legal term. There's not like a legal charge for insurrection, is there? Like there's not like you're being
I haven't attempted
with
one yet, so I wouldn't know. I didn't look into it too much.
But I haven't heard of anybody getting charged with insurrection. I've heard of people getting charged with like conspiracies and all sorts of other things, but I haven't heard of anybody actually getting charged with insurrection. And so it's just weird that like he could literally get charged for engaging in this entire thing in an actual court, but unless Congress comes out and says, yes, he was engaging in an insurrection, and they have to make like an official vote or
How does it?
statement of it.
How it is that like a law getting passed in Congress? Like we're gonna write a law that said such and such committed, or does there have to be like a congressional trial? Is there like a procedure for that, like impeachment or something?
I'm
How
not
does
sure. It's
Congress
just part
adjudicate?
of the. It's just part of the Supreme Court ruling that yes,
That's
unless
hilarious.
Congress has declared that they've engaged in an insurrection, now you can take them off the ballot, and that's a little wild.
Let me ask you a more fundamental question here. I asked
Hmm.
Rowan this as well. Do you agree that democracy is cringe?
No, I don't think democracy is
You don't think
cringe.
democracy is cringe?
No, I don't think it's cringe.
You're a big fan of the Electoral College. You like that if you live in a state where 50.0001% of votes go to one party, it's as if the other 49.99% of people don't even exist.
I
You
used
think
to not
that's
like it. I used to really hate it. But you are voting by state, and then your state is voting in the federal. So like, to me, yes, your vote counts. It just counts as far as your
no, it
state
doesn't.
goes. It counts in the state. Yes,
Right.
it
So
counts for the
yeah. So your
delegates.
vote. Yeah, yeah. Look, I'm all for dividing the electoral votes up by the proportion of the vote within each state.
Yes, if
Right.
I could fix it, I would. Like, it seems to be disproportionate in some
Yeah, but right
areas to where
now
it's a
that's
little
not how it
unfair.
works, which is absurd and pathetic.
Yeah,
Which
but
is
that's
why I
not a
think that
problem with the electoral college, and that's not a problem with democracy. That's just a problem with how we divvy up the votes and the delegates.
okay, that's okay. Well, I guess it depends on how we define democracy. But I would say our democracy, the American democratic system as it is right now, is cringe. It should be harder for people to vote. And it should be, yeah, the Electoral College needs to be reformed. It's very odd how we pick and choose and say, oh, well, we say like democracy is sacred. How could anyone question, the idea that a bunch of homeless people in Kensington, Philadelphia, strung out on heroin? It's like, oh, well, look how free these people are. Isn't it great? Look at all the non-aggression that's occurring because they're free to pursue whatever they want. It's like, that's pathetic. I regard that entire philosophy that says that as idiotic. And so I think, is democracy the best system? Of course. And I said that to him. I'm like, what do you, you have these weirdos who are like, well, let's get monarchy going. It's like, okay, now, listen, I make League of Legends comedy videos. I'm all for having fun and online. But if you are unironically saying, like, I'm going to devote a significant portion of my life to bring about an American monarchy, it's like, okay, you should ask yourself if pursuing that is a substitute for pursuing something else that you find meaningful, because chances are it is.
There was a poll that we read, I think it was yesterday, that that said that most Americans feel like democracy is on the line. And it was this poll that had 4 different options. And the first 2 were like, if Trump wins, democracy is over. If Biden wins, democracy is over. And then the last options were like, it doesn't matter who wins, democracy is over, or it doesn't matter who wins, democracy is fine. And the very worst, like the one with the least amount, it was like 13%, was democracy is fine either way. Everybody else, by far the majority of people, said, no, democracy's over if Trump wins, or democracy is over if Biden wins. Like, that's how hyperbolic this shit's gotten, and how
Yeah, well,
tribal it's
first
gotten.
off, I don't know. Are you voting for Trump or Biden as of right now? Excuse me. Besides RFK, we're all going to vote for RFK Jr. But assuming that the election was today, would you vote for Trump or Biden?
I would vote for Biden, not Joe.
Hunter.
Hunter, yes.
Nice.
I'll probably vote for Joe.
I will probably vote for Donald Trump as of right now. Actually, no. I will probably vote for RFK, and then I will probably vote for Donald Trump.
But so wait, so seriously, you would vote for Trump?
Yeah, probably as of right now.
Like, I don't really think of myself as like much of a Democrat, or like I'm definitely not a progressive or any of these things, but I fucking hate Trump, dude. I think he's like
I do too.
You in that podcast getting upset about what Destiny said about like the majority
Conservatives are artards?
Yes, I almost completely agree with this. Like, I completely left the Republican Party. I completely left conservatism over how just brain dead they all became over the last decade.
Well, I think you left some common sense behind when you left, because it's quite obvious there are many, many, many good, intelligent people who are Republican, and there are many, many, many good, intelligent people who are Democrat. So the idea, anyone who says most or all of people on one side or the other are X, Y, or Z, it's like, well, first off, I don't believe that they believe that. Like, I don't, like, Destiny knows full well that there are, like, church leaders who do incredible amounts of good for the people who need it most, which is usually which Democrat policies are aimed at, who are, and those people are Republican.
Yeah.
And so if Destiny was in a room with talking to that person, he would not say, hey, I know you spend 80 hours a week devoting your life to helping poor children develop skills and get an education and try to move out and better their lives. I don't think you're retarded. I think Destiny would probably say that, and that's an indication that he doesn't believe that.
These
He's
are
just saying
different
that
things.
for.
Because I talk a lot about the fact that, like, conservatives are just way more likely to give to charity, way more likely not just to donate money, but to donate time, to work in soup kitchens, and, like, adopt children, work with foster care, like, all this shit. They're just way more likely to do all this stuff. And I talk about this very regularly. But that doesn't mean that they're not retarded. They're just nice people. I'm glad that they're nice people, but they're still retarded if they turn around and vote for Trump.
Well, I guess you and
that's
I
like
have
my own
different
family
definitions of retarded.
Yeah, that's like my own family at this point. It's like most of them are like, they don't like Trump. They can't stand him, especially after January 6th. They were like,
do you get along with your family, generally speaking, would you say?
Yeah, definitely.
Even though you, and how would they feel about you calling them artards?
They would also call me an artard. Or
okay, well, that's the okay. Well, this is my thing. It's like neither of you actually like. First off, I don't use that word that often.
I think when it comes to politics, they are just completely like gone. Like this, the other day we started talking about Israel-Palestine, and I started saying like, hey, like I'm not like completely against Israel, but they are doing some shit. And as soon as I said that, they're like, how dare you? The Palestinians, they're all terrorists, and they're and like as I start like having a conversation with them, pretty quickly they're like, oh, I don't really know anything about this. Like I haven't studied, I haven't kept up with this issue, so I don't really know what's going on. And it's like that. Right. This is kind of my point. Like this is my entire issue right now.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with them being conservative per se, because you'll find the exact same phenomenon on the left.
I feel like the more politically involved I got, the more like towards the center I became, the more liberal I became, because I understood things better.
Okay, how about this? I will probably vote for Trump. Do you think I am retarded?
Yes. Do you not think that...
That's okay, this is my point. I know you don't believe... Okay, now, okay. Fine. Okay, fine. Yes. That's my point.
Okay, so why are you voting for Trump then?
Because I prefer him over Joe Biden.
What... See, for me, even though there's a lot of things that I can admit, like Trump did really well with like the economy, and even I'm willing to like give it to him that maybe even like the Russia-Ukraine war wouldn't have happened if Trump was still president, and that like that sort of shit. Like I'm willing to give that, but I do think he's a fucking criminal, and I do think that like the Ukraine impeachment was pretty justified. I think that the what was it, the January 6th impeachment was pretty justified, and then like the racketeering charges that he has in Atlanta, here where I live right now, that are probably going to stick. Taking of the documents and refusing to give them back, and then even showing them off to people. Like there's just a long list of crimes now from this guy that, even if I agreed, like, oh, there might be some like benefits here and there, I don't want somebody like that being the leader of the free nation. Like, I don't want that to be
the free world. I respect that opinion. I would prefer that over a dead corpse, which is what Joe Biden is.
Do you not think that he's like done a fair job with like his team and getting stuff done and trying to get stuff passed and
No.
like it?
Oh, sure. Well, I'm concerned about the reason I even care about politics to begin with is because it's reflective of a much deeper philosophical divide in this country.
Mhm.
It is not just a matter of the policy at this point, in many ways, not all, obviously, but in many ways, is irrelevant. It's sort of like if it was between. I'm not saying this is the current state, but just to highlight the extreme principle. If you were in 1930s Germany, and it was between Hitler and someone else, I don't know who the opposition was at the time, but like, well, but Hitler, his corporate tax rate was 50. It's like, listen. Bigger issues than corporate tax rate at this point. Okay.
Mhm.
And I do think there is a fundamental philosophical divide between what you might call globalism and nationalism. And I do think Biden and many of the people that he surrounds himself with have the mentality that we need to lessen focus on national identity and foster global unity and global cooperation and stuff like that.
Oh,
and
you're a
try to have
globalist, so you would vote for
I'm
Biden.
not.
Oh.
I'm not. I'm saying that is what Biden.
Oh, you're saying that's where the divide is. Is that
yeah?
one
So it's
side
globalist
wants...
versus nationalist, establishment versus
Are you a
anti-establishment.
populist?
I don't really know what that means.
It means that like you believe that there's like a group of elites that are kind of like fucking everything up for everybody else, and that.
Well, that's definitely true.
Okay.
No one would disagree with that. We just disagree on which elites are fucking it up. Is it the Republican elites or the Democrat elites? Right.
I don't think the Republican. I would say neither. I would say that like elites, for the most part, like we can do better with like maybe taxing the rich or shit like that. But there seems within populism, there seems to be like a hardcore hatred for elites and for rich people.
Yeah, I guess I would say I'm not then, because I think I'm quite of the opinion that you will always have an elite. The problem is not the fact that there are elites. The problem is the specific set of elites. Right, like if you had, Tristan Harris, the guy who did The Social Dilemma. He's been on Joe Rogan a couple times. He's a very sharp thinker about AI and technology and the threats it poses and potential solutions, and social media and all that. Like if he had executive power of some kind, I'd be much less skeptical of government. Of our current elites than I would be if he were in charge of that specific regulatory area, or at least he had maybe not in charge, but at least he had a significant role in that. So you need elites for sure. I just don't think. I think that well, I mean, look. Even as I say this, I don't think that the far left is worse than the far right. The Christo-fascists and the Christo-nationalists are at least as bad.
Yeah, I would say they're probably just as bad. Yeah.
I guess what I would say, to be more specific, is I think that the mainstream wing of the Democrat Party is more beholden to its extremists than the Republican Party.
Yeah,
depending on.
I think that's true to an extent, but the problem is that I think that the status quo of the Republican Party is a lot closer to their extremists than the Democrat Party. I think that there's a pretty big gap between like Biden and like socialists and communists, and then a very small gap between Donald Trump and Nick Fuentes. While Donald Trump and Republicans will denounce Nick Fuentes out loud and very emphatically and say, this guy's,
not Marjorie Taylor Greene,
who
got up there and shook his hand.
Sure, yeah. Did you, how did you feel about Destiny versus Jordan Peterson?
Is the conversation out?
What about Destiny versus Finkelstein? How did you feel about that one?
I haven't seen that one either. Wait, is the
Yeah,
Destiny
neither one
Jordan
of them
Peterson
have come
conversation
out.
out?
Yeah, no, neither one of them come out. Yeah, we're just sitting and waiting.
I mean, why would you? I mean, I guess if you're talking about topics that are evergreen, but like, what?
I'm frustrated that they haven't come out yet. So
I know, what the
yeah.
fuck? It's like, why do you sit on it and hide it? Like, you edit it
Lex
and get it out
Friedman,
there.
dude. Lex Friedman. What is he doing?
Well, just real quick, back to the Trump Biden thing. Let me ask you this, because I keep asking people this. So, because people say Trump is a threat to democracy. Like, okay, walk me through what you think will happen if Trump takes power in 2020. Well, 4, I guess, or 2025, beginning of 2025. What's the worst case scenario?
I mean, as I just said, I'm on the side where I don't think there's a real threat to democracy with Trump nor Biden,
Okay. Yeah,
because I think that Trump's presidency actually proved how good our institutions are and how good our checks and balances are. I do think that there was a plan to overtake the country. I just don't think that it ever would have gone through or that it ever would have worked, because I don't even think there's enough Republicans that would actually have gotten on board with that plan. And so, yeah, like the delegates that they brought in, the new delegates that they had, I don't think enough Republicans would have voted for that shit in the Senate to push that through at any point. No way. So yeah, I think it's pretty safe.
I find it hard to believe that, you know, like what Trump was gonna drive into the Capitol on a tank. Like, no, it seems, not that it's impossible. I would be a fool to say that it couldn't happen.
But the attempts are still there, right? It doesn't, like, the checks and balances I think are safe, but the attempts are still there. So still trying to get Joe Biden investigated for the Ukraine stuff over and over, or trying to like.
That seems fine. I don't see. This is the kind of stuff that I don't think is that important. Because I don't think it's what affects people's minds. People vote for Trump or Biden on the basis of their tribal beliefs.
You don't think that trying to like get your political rivals like investigated for kind of like conspiratorial bullshit?
Do you think that Biden withholding the $1 billion of monetary funds from Ukraine to fire Shokin when he was investigating Hunter Biden's company is not questionable?
That's what he was supposed to. It wasn't his funds. It wasn't his money. The people who gave him the money to negotiate with it. That's what he was supposed to do.
Why is it why did the president, or excuse me, the vice president of the United States at the time, give a flying fuck whether or not the prosecutor in Ukraine happened to be corrupt? And why is it the United States prerogative to deny them $1 billion of monetary IMF funds?
Because the EU, the IMF, and Congress had all said that they wanted the prosecutor fired from Ukraine.
Why?
Because he was corrupt. There was an anti-corruption thing. Hold on. There was an anti-corruption campaign that was being led by Joe Biden at the time, where they helped Ukraine pass a bunch of different types of legislation where they said, we'll keep giving you money, but you guys have to clean up. And we have a list of like things that you have to pass. New legislation where like people have to report where their income is coming from and how much land they own, and all of this different shit, so that they can oust corruption in Ukraine. And they were like passing all of these different things. And one of the things that they came back with for this specific money was, hey, also Victor Shokin, when we had all of these other laws where everybody had to put out all of this information, Victor Shokin has been found with tons of diamonds in his house. His driver was found with tons of diamonds and insane amounts of cash. They reported like his wife owning a bunch of land that she shouldn't have owned. And so, yeah, we think this guy's corrupt. We want you to get rid of him. And Victor Shokin had already like gotten closed the Burisma case and had already like kind of thrown it away. And then when the new prosecutor came in, he reopened the Burisma case and started investigating again. And I think even charged them with something.
Okay, so you don't think that Biden's asking to get Shokin fired had anything to do with the fact that he was investigating Hunter Biden's company?
He wasn't investigating Hunter Biden's company. That's the point, is that he had already closed the case. The new prosecutor investigated and charged them with something.
I would have to go back and check the timeline on that, because that's what Josiah said, and then I went back and looked, and I recall that not being the case. But I could be wrong. But these are the kind of details where it's like, again, the principle. Why is the United States involved in Ukraine's? Who decides whether they're corrupt or not? Didn't Bob Menendez, the Democrat senator, get caught with gold bars from Egypt?
Yeah, maybe, but they're funding.
So is it
him.
so why is it so is the Ukraine then? Does the Ukraine get to tell the United States, hey, you don't get any of the, not that it matters because the U.S. runs the world essentially, but like why should another democracy get to withhold funds over another democracy because they have corrupt people in power?
Because you're giving them funds. You want them to use the money correctly. You want to make sure that it's not just a bunch of people stealing all the fucking money that you're giving to them, which seems to be the problem with Ukraine currently, is that we're funding them an insane amount and lots of the money is just kind of disappearing now. And so, yes, like
why are we giving Ukraine money?
Because we want them to get away from Russia. We wanted them to separate themselves.
Why?
Because we want them to be like more of part of like the Western trading system so that it's more beneficial to the world.
What does that mean?
Well,
wasn't Russia part of the Western trading system prior to
No, that was kind of the problem. That's how all this started. Was Ukraine had just signed a new trade deal with Russia, and the citizens rioted and overthrew the government.
Yeah, Timoshenko.
Yes, the president left, and then they put a new guy in charge who was supposed to move.
That was a coup.
Okay, but they were supposed to move everything towards Western trading.
Why does the U.S. care? Why does the U.S. care more about Ukraine than it does Myanmar or Burma or some country in Africa?
Because Ukraine was a big proxy state for Russia, and it was important. It was an important piece for them, and so yes, taking that away from Russia was going to be beneficial to the United States.
Why? Why would that be beneficial to the United States?
Because they were an important proxy state for Russia.
Why is Russia an enemy of the United States?
Why? I don't.
Are we at war with Russia? I may have missed the declaration of war. That was
somewhat
made.
Of like a Cold War, where they're like, meddling in our elections, they're putting out like tons of misinformation and hacking like different groups. So yeah, so somewhat of a Cold War, if you want to say.
What is something? Yeah. Okay, this is a genuine question. What is something that Russia has done that the United States has not itself done in the last, whatever, 10, 20, 30 years? I
didn't say Russia's evil. I'm saying that
why are they our enemy? Why is Russia an enemy? Why can we not normalize
all of the things that I just mentioned is why they're our enemies, because they're causing problems for us. That doesn't mean that the United States doesn't also do the same things in other countries. I would imagine those other countries are going to think of us as an enemy.
What problems are Russia? Let's say prior to before they invaded Ukraine, because
I said meddling in elections, like hacking into government agencies, like stealing
China
information.
Does that to us as well. Other countries do that.
Yeah,
as well.
we're not great friends with China.
Do you think Israel influences and meddles in our election?
No. But influences maybe. I don't. Not in the same way that Russia does. No. But China is a good example.
Hold on, wait.
Yes, we don't get along with China either.
Hold on. You said Russia is an enemy of the United States because one of the reasons is because it interferes in our elections. What does that mean exactly? They influence our elections to get the candidate that they would prefer?
I don't know if it's that simple.
Okay, what is it? Tell me.
So from what I've read, the point is to actually just cause as much like mass confusion as possible and put out as much misinformation as possible to confuse the citizens. So like putting out tons of like ads saying like Hillary said this, Trump said that. Like they're not really trying to get one or the other elected. They just want everybody to be pissed off and as divisive as possible so that they're all kind of at each other's throats and as confused. But it's not like a direct like we need Trump elected. It's more like let's make sure all of the Americans become populist.
So Russia exerts influence. I thought the whole claim was that Russia is trying to influence our elections because they want to get their preferred candidate. If it's just like cause confusion, how does that? Okay, and what material effect has that had? Other than what material effect did that have?
Since 2016, the amount of misinformation that's come out from tons of
Do you
different
think?
outlets.
Do you think
Like,
Israel? Do you think Israel attempts to influence our elections for their benefit, which is not necessarily in the
I don't
interest of
know.
the United
You keep
States?
asking that. What is like an example of this that I?
APAC, the incredible lobby, the Israel lobby, and all of its efforts to get the United States to essentially give
Isn't
money to
APAC all
Israel
Americans?
unconditionally. Huh?
Aren't isn't APAC all Americans?
Yeah, it's the American Israel Political Action Committee,
Yeah,
APAC,
so
I
that's not
believe.
Israel doing that. That's Americans who are in favor of us doing this. Yes.
The American Israel Political Action Committee has nothing
Yeah.
to do with Israel. They don't work
I
with
didn't say they
Israel
don't
to
have
figure out
any.
what's good.
It's not. It's okay. Maybe I said that. I'm saying that it's not Israel, like the state. That's a very different thing from like when we're talking about states doing things to like cause
Do,
problems for a country versus these people are lobbying for us to
do
give
you
money
think
to a country.
okay,
Like
so
that's
I
a
would
little bit different.
so here's my claim. Benjamin Netanyahu is a bigger enemy to the United States than Vladimir Putin. Tell me why I'm wrong.
I don't. I don't even know where that logic would begin. What is the argument for that?
Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal, number one, and
Okay.
we are just blindly sending him money to commit war crimes and ethnic cleansing. He's in coalition government with people who are as bad as Hamas, bar none. The people who shot death to Arabs, the people who say the mass shooters who walk into a Palestinian mosque and kill innocent women and children, they're heroes. That's who Benjamin Netanyahu's in coalition government with. He has
I
maps of Greater Israel. His party and the people he's in coalition government with talk about Greater Israel, which is conquest, taking lands that isn't there, which includes West Bank, Palestine,
Okay,
and parts
I
of
agree he's a
Lebanon.
bad guy. I don't like Netanyahu, but I don't know that I agree that he's like doing ethnic cleansing or that he's yeah trying to like
Okay, well, whatever he's
I
doing
don't
to
even know
Palestine
about
is
war
worse than
crimes.
is what Putin's. Whatever he's doing to Palestine is worse than whatever Putin did to Ukraine by
Like
ridiculous
a lot of like allyship
magnitudes.
and shit, right? When we're talking about like trying to get Ukraine as an ally or using Israel as an ally, these aren't like good versus bad or like righteous versus evil sorts of things. These are normally like
Sure.
political things. And so what all of the things that you just named aren't things that cause problems for the United States or are things that are like causing problems within our country necessarily.
Really?
Like
You don't think Israel's actions have created more division in the United States than Vladimir Putin's whatever Facebook ads or whatever it was, $1,000 of Facebook ads or some bullshit?
no, no, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I would say that our reputation is utterly demolished as someone we can. I mean, the idea that the United States is a moral country is out the complete fucking window as far as I'm concerned. We
Really?
could tomorrow. Yeah, of course. We could tomorrow. We could today. Biden could call up Netanyahu and say exactly what he did to Ukraine. You're corrupt. If you do not resign, or if you do not sanction the people calling for genocide, not the I mean actual uh kill all the whatever it was. I'm sure I could find you. I'll send you the clips of the Jewish Power Party members saying their bullshit about cleanse Judea and Samaria and whatever. It doesn't matter if they're starving the old, the young, et cetera, et cetera. Biden could say, "We're cutting off funds to you tomorrow if you do not sanction those people, or because they're corrupt, and make a statement that you will not pursue this greater Israel, which includes land in, I believe, Lebanon and Jordan, or one or either, which is conquest. But we don't do that because we simply write Israel a blank check because Israel has such a grasp. And as Benjamin Netanyahu said in that video, the U.S. is very easy to influence. Don't worry about the U.S. We'll say to them we're defending ourselves, and that's exactly what happened. Oh, look at that! 20 years later, exactly what he said is happening. What happened is happening. So
But I think they are defending themselves, though. That's the difference. Is that like, even though they said this,
That's
yes,
what Hamas says.
just,
Hamas thinks they're defending themselves.
I was a little bit different when they like literally just go into a country and just start killing random people at will for like with no real goal or
well, hold on. It's all hold on. The argument that the argument that it's okay to kill civilians up towards any number disproportionately as long as your cause is righteous enough.
Not cause is righteous enough, is that there's like it's like about what it is that you're targeting, or that the civilians are not the actual target but are like collateral damage, or like there's a bunch of other things that go into it. But in this case, yes, there wasn't like if I thought
I believe
look,
yeah, that's
they have a problem
so I trust the IDF.
If they had said like, hey, look, because they keep encroaching on our land. They keep building more and colonizing like more and more spots that we don't want them in. And we did this thing to get them off that land. And we were trying to do this with like ransom or with like demands, to where we would keep doing this sort of thing until they met these demands. Like if there was anything like that, it would be a completely different scenario, but that just wasn't it. It was just like, hey, let's just go kill a bunch of people at random and then start a fucking war like that.
Okay, well, the Jewish Power Party, who've been advocating for ethnic cleansing of Judea and Samaria because they don't call it Palestine and West, I don't trust any of the IDF's rationale and reasoning. Why should I trust them any more than Hamas? They're both religious extremists.
I don't know that you do trust them. That's like a thing that I have to keep repeating, is that like I don't know that I'm not gonna sit here and say that Israel isn't committing
it's absolutely committing ethnic cleansing. That's ethnic cleansing is removing a population from a land. The whole genocide thing, it's like,
I don't know that they're committing war crimes, but I'm not saying they're not saying they are, because we would have to know exactly what it is that they're targeting each time, what like the benefits to each target is, and why other people ended up being killed, and whether or not they could have done something else. But we can't know that in the middle of a war. Like we literally can't get that information right now, which is why nobody's making a big deal about it. It's because there's no expectation to have this information while they're in the middle of a war, that they're going to hand over like where all of their information's coming from.
What did you think about the whole flower massacre?
What was the flower massacre again?
The 100 people getting killed by the IDF because they were allegedly rushing trucks full of food. The reason I asked that is because I get a news article or a newsletter every morning. I think it's called 1440. It's very it tries to be unbiased, and generally it does a pretty good job. And this is the first, well, I was just like, well, I've kind of, for the reasons you said, like we don't really know what's going on, all this different stuff.
1440 does like the polling and shit, right?
Maybe, no, that's 529. Wait, no. That's, I know what you're talking about. It's another number. Okay. Nate Silver, right?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah.
538.
Yeah, maybe it's 538.
Anyway.
Okay.
Point is, I don't see why we are writing a blank check to Israel when the coalition government is corrupt. Do you agree that the current government of Israel is corrupt?
It seems to some extent, yes. Yeah.
Okay, so why are we not, like we did with Ukraine, why are we not withholding funds from Israel?
Well, when Ukraine was in the middle of a war, we didn't do that. We did it while they were switching government leaders.
Okay, I'm aware there are differences. I'm asking in principle.
What
would you support Joe Biden calling Benjamin Netanyahu and saying, if you do not issue a decree tomorrow that you will remove the settlers from the West Bank, then we're not sending you money anymore?
I would be in favor of that, yes.
Okay, that's what I would be in favor of. I don't know what we disagree on.
I don't know if I require that of Joe Biden in order to send them money, but I do think that that would be a good thing. Yes.
Okay. Well, we're aligned on that. So, enlightened
Based.
centrism for the win.
I am not enlightened.
Well, that was a very enlightened take of you. If you look, let me just be perfectly clear. Okay, nobody loves Jews more than I do. Okay.
Okay.
But if you are going to say that the Israeli ultra-nationalist Jews who shout death to Arabs and who praise mass shooters like Baruch Goldstein, who occupy illegal settlements in the West Bank, if you believe those people are not as bad as the Hamas supporters, then I think you don't know enough about the Israeli settlers.
Yeah, I think Israel and their government seems to be just as bad as Hamas. It's just that I also think that they have a bit more of a justification in the ways that they act than Hamas does. That's
Okay.
the main difference.
Well, that is
but
where
yeah.
you and I disagree. And I'm looking forward to your reaction on my League of Legends Benjamin Netanyahu champion spotlight, the Lord of Darkness.
I don't
where I will be able to...
I don't know. So part of my problem with those videos is I just know literally nothing about League of Legends. So
That's
I
fair.
watch them. They're cute. Just like I don't know League of Legends.
That's fair. I've actually gotten generally positive feedback on those precisely because you don't have to know too much about League to understand the references. Although certainly it helps. But
sure, it'd help. Yeah.
But yeah.
All right.
I need to eat here relatively soon. Is there any other points of friendly disagreement we can have?
Oh, I wanted to ask, what do you think about the channels like Whatever Podcast, Fresh and Fit? There's like a ton of these where they bring a bunch of women on, and it's always like a red pill group of guys doing this, right? Like,
Yep.
What do you think about these channels? And do you think that you could do the same thing as like a more liberal or progressive sort of person, anti-red pill, and just do like the same exact type of content? Or do you have to like eviscerate these women and make them look stupid in order for it to be beneficial whatsoever?
First, what do I think of them? I think that it's very obvious why they are successful, in the same way that it's obvious why, you know, the Kai CNET or whoever those guys are that run up and like scream on people,
Mm-hmm.
or like crazy prank show type shit. It's just like it's so absurd that it just is a spectacle.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to remind myself that there are people who genuinely believe a lot of what it means. I mean, obviously, you watch any of those podcasts for 20 minutes, they're gonna say correct stuff. I mean, that just is the case. That's true with Hassan Piker. You know, even someone as dumb as Hassan. You know, you watch any successful commentary media, they're gonna be in some level of contact with the truth. It's all the extra shit on top of it that's fucking nonsense. Do I think there could be a progressive version of that, like that is pro woman or that is still shitting on women?
So I've been talking to a couple of people about doing like a another version of that, just more so from like a more liberal lens where we have the same like similar questions and shit, but like lots of the women that they bring on a lot of these shows are very conservative and are kind of like red pilly and do have like like very traditional values in a lot of these areas. And so I think doing the same thing, and Also, red pill does get some things right, where progressives are just feminists and all these people are flying off the handle to be against this shit just because red pillers say it, or just because, more conservative people believe it, or just because it aligns with conservative gender roles and that sort of shit. So I do think that, like, yeah, having, I'm wondering, like, if it can be done without the, like, dunking on women for being women. Yeah.
I agree. I think the dunking on women for being women mentality can probably go away, and we'd be better off for that. It's all like, again, you should always rob your opponents of the valid points that they do make. And if it's like, well, women are liars and they're, they're fucking snakes and all that, it's like, yes, insofar as everyone is a fucking liar and filled with snakes and all that,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, well, if, like, it's, yeah, I think you have to have empathy for the people who are drawn to that. You must understand your enemy in order to destroy them, is how I would say that. And there's no better way to destroy your enemy.
To destroy them.
No better way to destroy your enemy than to make them your friend. That's my philosophy.
You're talking about women.
It depends on which woman we're talking about.
Fair enough.
I'm against identity politics. I can't do a Jordan Peterson impression. Yeah, I don't know. Are there any examples of healthy podcasts or podcasts that talk about dating and
I haven't even seen it tried. Yes, I haven't even seen it tried. I haven't seen anybody do it.
Like a healthy version of that?
Yeah. So
have you seen Call Her Daddy?
Call Her Daddy? No.
Have you seen Call Her? Do you know what Call Her Daddy is?
No.
Or was? I don't even know if it's a podcast. It's a Barstool podcast that was these two women. And I listened to one episode one time, and it was like, I don't know. It felt like the female equivalent of red pill type stuff of just like, this is like very one-dimensional femininity. And
is it like a feminist podcast?
No,
I would assume with the name Call Her Daddy, it's like a...
I mean, it was two women. I wouldn't know if... I wouldn't call it feminist. When I think of the word feminist, I think of it like in political feminism, like Judith Butler or secondly. It's like, your average woman who doesn't know anything about politics at all may or may not call themselves a feminist. They probably would, sure. But that doesn't mean anything as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, I can see it happening. I don't talk about listen, I only talk about subjects in which I know everything and I have all the correct opinions, like Israel, Palestine.
Of course. No, you don't do panels though anymore. You wouldn't go on.
Yeah, that's just because there's too many fucking weirdos that could show up that I just don't want to. I think I stopped the day I quit doing panels is when I was when a cat VTuber. I got in an argument with a cat, a virtual cat online, and I was like, you know what? I gotta spend my time more.
You didn't enjoy my panels. My panels were always just my friends and the people that I.
If you don't have VTubers, even then, you've got some fucked up characters as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You're right.
So, but you run your show.
I don't trust any of those people. I don't know what I was talking about.
What I was gonna say is the whole like talking about relationship stuff. It's like. A problem that people make is that they try to explain to other people how to solve problems that they themselves have not solved. So, I've been in a relationship. It's like, I wouldn't take advice about relationships from someone.
You're calling
at minimum
Destiny
until
out
they've.
Right now. That's what you're doing. You're calling Destiny out right now. I can see it. That's what you're doing.
If this critique applies to Destiny, which it definitely does. But it's like when it comes to like personal type stuff, I'm like I'm immediately going to be skeptical of anyone who hasn't demonstrated success in solving the problem that they're talking about, right? Which is like well, like in politics, it's different obviously because that problem never gets solved. But like, I don't want to hear relationship advice from someone who's not demonstrated that they can maintain a successful long-term monogamous relationship, because I personally think that's the proper path for almost everyone, but certainly not everyone.
Fair enough.
But I guess if fucking Fresh and Fit and the whatever groups are the only people that are talking about it, then you probably need a counter voice. So,
well, I
anyway,
appreciate you coming on and hanging out.
thank you for having me. I am about to work on the Benjamin Netanyahu champion spotlight, the Lord of Darkness. His passive, one of his abilities is Light of the Likud, and I will.
The podcast that I was watching the other day, is that like a regular thing? Do you do that consistently, or was that just like a one-off?
Rowan?
Yeah.
There's a studio here in Dallas that you can just rent for 2 hours at a time, and he lives around here. So that's the second time we did it, I think. I've used it. I've used that studio 3 times now. But I actually was thinking it got pretty positive reception, which is funny. I think I might ask people like for topics or something like that, and then me and Rowan can talk again, because he's pretty left wing. He's on the left side of enlightened centrism, and I'm on the right side of enlightened centrism. Although he's a little out of the PF Jungian window, I call it, because I am the arbiter of what I'm the arbiter of what's considered enlightened centrism.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Right. Well, thank you for tolerating me.
Thanks for coming on. Hopefully, next time we'll be able to teach you about the Israel-Palestine conflict.
You'll have to watch the video, and
okay,
I'll convey my points through the humor. Anyway,
all right.
Peace, Tom.
Appreciate it. Later.